in on 4 legs, has a big tail.
A life with no challenges is not a life worth living. As we move through this life, we will encounter roadblocks, obstacles, and it's how we rise up and overcome these challenges that I feel define us as a men and women. Now, these challenges can take on many forms. You can have a financial setback. You can have health issues. In my life, it was neither one of these. The challenge that I faced, my Waterloo, the thing that could have torn apart my marriage, the thing that could have turned my children against me, could have caused my dog to leave the room when I entered, was something so horrible, I still find it difficult to talk about. My challenge had 4 legs and a long bushy tail, and in my opinion, was the incarnation of evil in this world. I'm talking about squirrels. Now, my story starts with me quietly working in my home office. Now, I have an office on the 2nd floor of my house, and I was quietly sitting there typing when I heard it for the first time. A little scratching noise, almost imperceptible. But if you listened, you could hear it. And once you heard it, you could not ignore it. I instantly knew what this sound meant. I had squirrels in my attic. So what's a homeowner to do? I got out the ladder, and risking life and limb, I climbed up onto my roof. And I walked around looking for where the source of my problem was. And I found it. What I found was that the squirrels had removed part of my roof and callously tossed it onto the roof in sort of a daring, come and find us if you dare sort of attitude. Clearly, this was war, but I knew how to handle this. I went back down into my kitchen and I got out the most delicious looking marshmallow you've ever seen in your life. And I smeared peanut butter all around that. And then I sprinkled it with rat poison pellets. And I left it outside of where they drilled a hole into my house, knowing that I had solved my problem. Apparently squirrels really enjoy marshmallows, and they like peanut butter, and potentially rat poison has no impact on them whatsoever, because 2 days later they were still there. Clearly, a different approach was required. I needed to know my enemy, so I got back up on the roof. In fact, I went up onto the tallest part of my roof where I could overlook the hole that they had made. And I perched there. I sat there, and I didn't move a muscle. I became one with the roof. And that did it. After a little while, they showed up. And it turns out I didn't just have a squirrel problem. I had a 3-squirrel problem. Alvin, Simon, and Theodore were living in my attic. To get rid of squirrels, you have to think like a squirrel. And so that's what I did. I went out to the Home Depot and I bought a trap. A trap is about the size of a shoebox. And it's got 2 doors on either side. And they slam shut when the animal takes the food from inside the trap. So clearly, I had to pick the right food to win this war. The first squirrel that I went after was Alvin. He appeared to be the dad. So I thought to myself, what's it going to take to capture a dad squirrel? And you know what I realized quickly? Just like dads everywhere, he just wanted to get out of the house. He wanted to get away from the wife and the kids who just wouldn't shut up. So I knew I could put any food in that trap and he'd be there. And so that's what I did. I put some nuts there, walked away. About 2 hours later, bam, I had him. So I took him down off the roof, put him in my car, and I was driving to the drop-off point. he and I were exchanging, dad looks. He was saying in his own special squirrel way, "Thanks for getting me out of that situation." Got up to the forest where I was going to release him. I opened it up. He dashed out of the cage, and just before he entered the woods, he turned back as if to give me a final thank you glance. And I knew I'd done a good thing. But I went back to my house, crawled back up on the roof, and I had to set the trap again. This time I was going for the mother, unfortunately named Simon. Sort of a wrong name for a girl. So what was it going to take to get her into the trap? It took a little bit of thinking. Then I realized mothers everywhere, whether you're a human or a squirrel, would be disturbed by the same thing, specifically a messy trap. So I filled the inside of the trap with peanuts and sprinkled nuts everywhere. It was just atrocious. Set it outside their little cubby hole, walked away. 2 hours later, she was trapped in there. I took her to the drop-off point, popped it open, and let her out. And I could swear that from back in the woods, I heard a groan. So apparently Alvin wasn't happy that I had dropped his wife off. There was one remaining squirrel, Theodore, who appeared to be a teenage boy squirrel. So when I was thinking about what it was going to take to trap him in my trap, I had to come up with the right bait. I thought about my children, and I realized teenage children forever have been eating the worst food possible, right? So I got a bunch of gummy bears, threw it in the trap, and even as I was walking away, he ran in and trapped himself. So what this entire event has taught me is that life will present you with challenges. And it's not the size of the challenges that you're dealing with, but rather how you choose to deal with them that really counts. Now, in my case, my challenge, or perhaps I should really say my 3 challenges, have taught me an important life lesson. Success is determined by the trap that you use, the bait that you use, and by making sure that you take your problems someplace and release them so that they'll become somebody else's problems. Mr. Contest Master.